Hello team, welcome to my session on Coffee with Prab, and today we're going to discuss some interview questions of internal audit. This is the session 3. I already made the session 1 and session 2, and thanks for the response on that video, and that motivate me to drive this particular video. In this video I'm going to ask the another 5 questions which can be very helpful for your interview prep. If you're new to my channel, do subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the bell icon to make sure you should not miss my future videos on a similar topic. My name is Prab Nair. For more information, you can refer my LinkedIn profile. So without wasting a time, let's start with the first part. Thank you. Okay, first question. After the audit is done, auditor keep all the paperwork and keep track of previous audit report and other items for more than a year. What is the reason for same as it increasing the cost of the company? Sometimes what happen, the interviewer would like to know your thought process, your knowledge about the governance process of an audit. Okay, just conducting an audit is one of the function of internal auditor or auditor, but also need to know what are the legal regulatory norms associated with the audit. That is also the thing which interviewer expecting from the senior auditors and all that. And with this aspect in the mind, sometime in the jobs they basically ask this question, we keep a lot of paperwork, we keep a lot of documents. So what is the reason of keeping those documents? Because it increasing a storage cost and unnecessary it increasing a liability. So by asking this question, they would like to know the opinion of an auditor. What is his perspective about this particular practice. So how you handle this question? See, always remember, whenever any initiatives happen in the company, it is always driven by the top-down approach. I repeat, top-down approach. Top-down mean based on a business requirement, we basically drive our operation activities, right? So here, the first thing what you can reply that to comply with the legal, regulatory or company policies, we basically retain the data. That is the one thing. Second is sometimes to meet the need of the audit committees, we basically retain the data. To provide external auditor with the information to support their work, we retain the data. And sometimes it is used for the historical purpose. Let me tell you one thing. Now in some countries, we have a legal requirement that you need to retain data. Okay, for 7 years, 8 years, 9 years. So according to that, we need to retain those documents. Sometimes in the companies, we have an audit practice where you need to keep all the work papers in a common repository. Sometimes your audits will be audited by the another auditors, because definitely there is a possibility of committing a fraud. That's why company involve the external auditor to conduct an audit of your activities. For that reason, we basically maintain the documents. And as you know, internal audit directly report to the board of directors. So they are the eyes and ears of the management. So these documents, these reports can be also helpful for improving the control effectiveness. So that is the reason we basically keep all the records. So if you give answer in such a way, it builds the confidence. Okay, in a interview. Okay, yes, he know the knowledge, he know the process behind the audit. Okay, so that is the first question. Let's move to the next question. Okay, second question is, what is audit working paper? What is the guideline for good audit working paper? So you can say like that, auditing working papers, or you say work papers, are your quality controls. You can say this is your work. Example, if I challenge someone that your controls are ineffective, you need an evidence. That evidence is the working paper. Your reports are the working papers. Your field work reports are your working paper. So work paper is basically a most important part of an auditor. So sometimes what happen, auditor interviewers, so interviewer definitely want to know, do you know the basics of the audit? So that's why they use this kind of a term. So audit is different, working paper is different thing. So working paper is basically all about the set of documents that you maintain throughout the audit. Example, I am doing an audit of the data center. So I obtain the SOPs and all that of the data center. That has become my work papers. Because based on those papers only, I'm providing my opinion and all that. So when you're carrying out an audit, internal auditor basically use consistent writing or reporting methods. Okay, that is there, right? So that papers are called as a working papers. So collecting the previous audit reports, control reports, SOPs, gaps, minutes of meeting, all are basically called as a working papers. So auditing working papers are the documents maintained by the auditor that detail the audit process, use, the test basically conducted, the data gathered, and reasonable conclusion made in the course of the audit engagement. So that is basically called as a work paper. So tomorrow if you're saying that this control is ineffective, do you have any evidence? Yes, that evidence is the work paper. So question is, what is a guideline of a good work paper? Because sometimes the interviewer would like to know, do you know the principles to maintain the documentations? Okay, so first thing, remember, you should create a work paper in such a manner or maintain in such a manner that it brings the uniformity and standardization. Example, you involved in IT audits. Okay, so you need to follow one particular method in which you need to organize the documents so the other person in your absence can review and able to carry out the audit. So when you're preparing a working papers like reports, fieldwork, templates and all that, it should be consistent. So in your absence, other auditor can basically use the same document and drive the audit. So uniformity and standardization, which is also called as a you can say uniformity and standardization, is basically the most important thing we have, where you talk about the consistency of your writing methods, consistency of collecting a data, consistency of feeding the reports, templates. So that should be common. So when the auditor take over the work that has been started by another auditor, the use of a standardization format will promote the continuity. And through the standard format could be amended to reflect the changes in the style. So auditor could also introduce the additional format as necessary. Second is, whatever the paper you maintain, make sure it should be accurate, reliable and competence. Okay, when you're going to challenge someone's finding, you should need a proper evidence. So that evidence is basically working paper. So your documentation should accurately reflect the test plan, the test carry out and the result of this test. Okay, and there should be also document that show the timing of the work carry out. So that is called as a accuracy, reliability, competence. Okay, I have obtained the evidence of 2022 to 2021 because we providing a finding of this year. There's no point of obtaining a finding of 2016 and challenging them based on, okay, your current process ineffective. You need an evidence of this current year only. Okay, so accuracy, reliability, competence is a very important thing. Third is called precision and clarity of thoughts. So primary objective, is to provide the working paper that will be easy to understand. Okay, the way the audit was carried out. That is why when you're preparing a report and when you're preparing a closure report also, you need to draft a report in such a manner which is easy for any person to read and understand. Example, how you conducted an audit, what is the challenge you have faced, how you understand the process. So you need to write the entire storytelling in the audit reports. Okay, because in your absence, if someone want to review your previous audit reports and all that, they can get a better clarity. Is it clear? So you will start with what is the process, how you audit the process, what is the finding you have discovered, and then you will summarize the finding in the paper. So in this regard, working paper should be well organized and cross-reference with a clear and concise language structure. So if you present the information in this way, I'm sure it will increase the confidence level of an interviewer. Okay, so this is the second question we have. Let's move to the next question. Okay, next interview question. Sometimes what happens, the interviewer basically asks you from a technology point of view, because sometimes as an internal auditor, you need to audit the technology also. Definitely knowledge of expert is also required. But just want to know, if you tomorrow you claim that you did the IT audit, to just evaluate on that area, they definitely ask some question on technology audit. So here I have taken one example of a technology audit, which is called as a audit of the database. So you got an assignment to conduct an audit for the database. What will be the approach? So how you handle this? Be open, be simple. The first is that acquire the database version and compare it to the requirement of a company or policy requirement. It's very important because you need to obtain the database version and compare your corporate policy requirement and verify the database is running a database software with the same version to continue the support. Second is determine whether standard build is available for the new database system and baseline has an adequate security setting. So you obtain the baseline document and compare against the report of the database. Third, ensure the access to the operating system is properly restricted. Make sure database connected with the system, database connected with the OS, it has appropriate security controls and everything. The next part is verify the permissions. Make sure the database is accessible to only authorized people. For that, obtain the ACL list from the IM team and compare against the SOP, or compare against the procedure document. When you schedule the meeting with the database admin or business team and all that, from that you get the understanding about how many users have access to the database. Then go to the IM team, ask for the control reports and do the comparison. If you find any kind of a deviation, report as a finding. Then review the database accounts. Do check, do they following this privilege access management system? Do check, if any old account is still enabled. The person already left, but his account is still there. Or person moved from one department to other department, still check his account was disabled, not. And more important, verify the database permissions for the revoke status. So by giving this kind of a pointers, it gives the better visibility to the interviewer. Yes, he has an understanding of the technology audit. Okay, let's move to the next interview question. Okay, so next interview question. What are the different type of techniques we can use for testing controls? Okay, what are the different type of test techniques that we can use for testing the controls? And controls can be anything. Okay, human is also a control, process is also control, technology is also control. So sometime what happen, interviewer ask, okay, you tell me what is the way you're going to test the controls? Those controls are introduced to prevent the incidents, reduce the risk. So the first technique is called as the observations. Okay, this technique involves the auditor observing the actual controls being performed. But before observation, what happen is we request for the documentations. Now the documentations, example, I'm doing an audit of the change management process. So during a SOP of the change management, I discovered one person will review, one person will approve, one person will implement. I'm going to observe that. Is it really happening? In the SOP, they mentioned that change need to be closed in 2 days. I'm going to observe that. So writing, it does not mean happens. Go look and verify. And observation is the best way to verify. Doing a tour of the facility, and that is how I can able to verify the controls. Second is, if you have any doubt, you do the inquiry. Okay, this technique involved auditor using a questioning skills, determine how control is completed. Okay, you have a SOD on a process. I can also observe SODs happening, but how effectively happening? Is there any fraud? Because one person is approving, one person is signing, one person is making a payment. Just let me check the outcome of that SOD. Is it a fraudulent transaction? Because there is a possibility 2 people, 3 people can work together to commit a fraud. So after observation, I will do inquiry. I will ask some questions. That is how I can see the effectiveness of a control. On one side, you're saying every system protected with the 8-character password. I also check password is there, but is person is aware about we should follow the 8-character password. I will do inquiry. Sometimes we do the inspection of the physical evidence also, where we test the physical controls and everything. So these are the different type of techniques we have that we can use for testing the controls. Okay, let's move to the next interview question. So next question is, at what condition does the auditor extend the testing of control? Sometimes what happens, you're auditing the process and all that, you find some issues, but you're not sure. So you extend the scope, you extend the timeline and all that. And according to that, you will do the further testing. So question is, at what conditions we do the further testing of the controls? First is the degree to which auditor intended to rely on the controls. Okay, initially when I did the assessment of firewalls or SOD controls, okay, compliance report, I'm not very confident on the controls. I want more deep pen testing of those controls reports. So in that case, I will extend my testing. For example, I could not able to conclude my things based on a 5 samples. So I extend to 10 samples. Second is effectiveness of the evidence produced by control. I cannot trust the report. I cannot trust the evidence which is generated by the control, which I got from a control. I will do the further pen test to find more details about that. In that case, I will extend the depth of the testing. Okay, until it satisfies the control operated as intended. Okay, every system protected with a password. I basically interview the people. Still, I'm not very confident. I want to do the audit of the system itself and see whether it's actually 8-character password. Or sometime during the inquiries or observation later in the audit process, there's a change in the control. We do the again assessment to find the effectiveness. So these are basically the techniques we have in which we basically extend the testing of the control. Okay. So this is all from my side. Do let me know how do you find this video, and I will waiting for your suggestions in the comment box that do you want a further videos on a similar topics, which is called internal audit. And if you're new to my channel, do subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the bell icon to make sure you should not miss my future videos on a similar topic. Thank you. Goodbye.